So let's get into what John Schneider said. If you want to kind of recap it for everyone who maybe missed it.
Yeah, for anybody that didn't catch it, yesterday before the game, John Schneider basically came out and said, like, yeah, we are playing for home field advantage. Home field advantage is our priority over the next 12 games. As it stands right now, if they don't tinker with the rotation at all, we got White going tonight. Alek Manoah starts tomorrow. Alek Manoah is scheduled to start Friday, September 30th against the Red Sox, which puts him as the scheduled starter organically for October 5th against Baltimore. That is game 162, the final game of the season. And Schneider basically came out and was like, yeah, if home field advantage is on the line in 162, like win and we get home field advantage, Alek Manoah is starting 162. Obviously,
think,
if he
my question to you, Adam, is: do you think that this is strategic, or do you think this is business?
Okay, define business.
Think about how much more money Rogers makes with 3 home games in a wild card series over how much Rogers makes going to Seattle or going to Tampa Bay for a 3-game series. It is going to be substantial.
Interesting. I hadn't thought of it that way.
I don't think that this organization is one to, like, the Blue Jays are not the Angels. Right? Like, this isn't just about making money, and if the team loses but they're still in the black, they're all happy. Okay? I don't view it like that. But it might have a little bit to do with it, right? I mean, we are talking big time money, and you can always spin it that home field advantage is incredibly important. I might be sounding a little like a conspiracy theorist here.
No, but hey, let's deep dive the conspiracy here, because I mean, if we're really gonna overthink things as we do here,
yes,
right? We usually overthink things and then underproduce.
You and I, that's our MO. We're
results.
Overthinkers, buddy. God, we think too much.
It is a blessing and a curse, mostly a curse. Okay, so here's a few thoughts that I had on this. This could be, first of all, if this is the case, and we'll just take John Schneider at his word, this is a big cojones move.
Yeah.
This is a move that is like next year's contract threatening. Like, if he pitches Manoah in 162 and then we lose and Manoah doesn't pitch in the playoffs at all and we lost and we didn't get home field advantage anyways, this is, potentially, thanks for the hot September, but we're going to go in a different direction next year.
This is Zach Britton sitting in the Orioles bullpen in the 12th inning of the wild card game in 2016 type of stuff.
Yep. Now, is this even John Schneider's call? I don't know. Right? This could be the khakis. This could be, like you said, a business decision. Here's the idea, the kind of thought. If I want to give like maximum credit, best case scenario, here's how I'm choosing to look at it. This could be posturing. This could be a signal to Seattle and to Tampa Bay that, hey, we're going for it. You better as well. Like, we don't want, if Castillo has the same option in Seattle to get Seattle home field advantage, and that's a consideration for the boys down in the West Coast to be like, we got to, rearrange our pitching rotation to make sure that, we get that home field advantage because we know the Jays are going for it. Like, there is a chance that that's all this is.
Yes.
Right?
In fact, it's probably the most likely scenario.
Yeah, it could just be we're bluffing because we want Tampa Bay and Seattle to shoot their entire payload trying to get there as well.
Sorry.
Right? Yes, thank you. The other idea that I had is that this is the truth, and that by doing so, without directly saying it, this actually positions the Blue Jays to pitch Alek Manoah twice in a 5-game series against the Yankees or the Astros or however that shakes out. So maybe, again, not to put the cart before the horse, right? Because you never want to overlook your next matchup kind of thing, right? But we're going to have to win the first round anyways. We're going to have, maybe it is just this puts us in a better position against the Yankees. We need Gausman to ball out. Yeah. We need Stripling or Barrios to steal a game anyways. But we talked about it with Mitch Banning yesterday, the idea of going against Verlander twice against the Astros, with Jose
Barrios. Yes.
That's a tough matchup, right? But all of a sudden, if you're looking at, hey, we got the Yankees for 5 and we're going to pitch Manoah twice in that series, potentially, right? Like you get him for the opening game and then a game 5 in New York, Alek Manoah. Man, I'm quitting my job to watch that game. I got literally, I have goosebumps just thinking about Manoah game 5 in New York. Whew, chills.
This is maybe more what the organization is leaning towards. I think that that's a really good point about looking ahead to the division series. And again, you don't want to look ahead of anybody in this league. I mean, we watched the Jays overlook the Angels.
How'd that go?
And lose all 4 of those games before they finally went on that, 8 or 9 game winning streak and kind of pulled themselves out of it. But, there is something to be said for putting your best pitcher against the other team's best pitcher. I know Mitch Bannon touched on it, reporter for the Blue Jays with Sports Illustrated yesterday when we had him on the show. And he said straight up, he's like, listen, Barrios, Gausman, Manoah, Stripling, they're all going to make starts in the playoffs if this team progresses forward. You're going to need 4 starters, and whoever isn't pitching in that wild card series is going to wind up pitching game 1 in the division series. And maybe you do want Alek Manoah lined up against, let's say, a Justin Verlander. And I mean, this is one thing Mitch said too, right? Is that if it's Jose Barrios that does draw the short straw, and he's pitching game 1, and then he's pitching again game 5, and he's against Verlander both times, you almost need to win the other 3 games is pretty much what Mitch said. And I tend to agree with him.
Yeah, it is interesting to see how that'll play out. I mean, you don't want to get ahead of yourself, but you're also irresponsible if you don't look ahead, right? If you don't plan a little bit for the future, right? One thing that Mitch commented on that really stood out to me, made sense. I still don't know if I like the idea or not, but the idea of Yusei Kikuchi making this playoff roster as a guy that we can go throw out there for 6 innings for a game that's just out of hand, right? Like Barrios has a rough start. Let's just save our bullpen for game 3. Ugh. I don't like that idea.
We do want to mention that asterisk because the way Mitch worded it was like, if you're losing 100-0, right? So basically he's like, if you're being blown out and you just do not want to burn your bullpen because of how important the bullpen is in the playoffs, maybe you do need a guy like Yusei Kikuchi who's just going to go out there and be eaten by the wolves, but you have him at least who is stretched out and can go 5-6 innings. I hate it. I hate the idea that Yusei Kikuchi is going to be placed onto this playoff roster, and I think he is going to be. And it was really interesting to hear Mitch go over the roster and talk about the playoffs and who would make that playoff roster. And he doesn't think Mitch White is going to be there. He doesn't think that Julian Merriweather is going to be there. So it's going to be interesting. He really did say he feels like all 6 outfielders are going to be on this roster, and he said that they're probably going to carry 3 catchers. Gabriel Moreno might make this playoff roster. It is going to be very interesting to see how things are configured in the next 2 weeks.
Well, like you said, if you got Danny Jansen catching and Alejandro Kirk DHing, you don't want to get in a situation where you don't have a backup catcher in case of bad
Yeah.
tacos.
Especially with Kirk in that DH position. 100%.